Welcome back to Gun&ShotTV. This is Chris, and today I'm going to be talking about survival rifles. Well, not many survival rifles, just one. This is a bit of an interesting piece. You know, I like takedowns. I've shown a couple of them here. This is a Armalite AR7 style survival rifle. You can hear the stock. So this is a whole rifle. It floats in the stock. And take off the butt plate. You got your barrel, magazine, and the action here. You just put the action, screw it together. Take the barrel, insert it while putting pressure on it. Tighten down the barrel nut. Put in your magazine. Put your butt cap back on. And you now have a complete rifle. Now this isn't actually a Henry. I just have a Henry box. It is actually a Survival Arms. They made them in the 90s. The story with these goes back in the 50s. The Air Force was using a survival rifle that was like almost a break action. It was a 410 22 Hornet, I believe. And it was pretty nice, but the Air Force was looking for something a little bit different, a little more compact, because it just folded in half. So Armalite developed a rifle they called the AR5, and that was a bolt action. Throw up a shot of it. And that was a bolt action chambered in 22 Hornet, and the Air Force was interested, but unfortunately they didn't have any money, so I think they ordered a dozen from Armalite, and that was as far as it ever went. The Air Force didn't have the budget to actually replace their weapons at the time. So there was an engineer at Armalite who you may have heard of. His name was Eugene Stoner, and he later went on to design the AR-15. He took the bolt action design and tuned it up a little bit and made it into a 22 long rifle semi-auto. These weren't actually ever issued by the Air Force. Like I said, it's actually a different iteration of the AR-5, which was a bolt action. So you'll see these a lot in planes, maybe trucks, anything where you have limited space and limited weight, but you want something to take that you could theoretically use to survive. The big advantage to these is like on a canoe or something like that. This stock is filled with foam, and depending on if the cap is still watertight, I have some tape wrapped around mine to give it a little bit of extra sealing power. But if you were to drop it in the stock, all stowed in the stock would float. If you were to drop it in the water like this, the stock would also float upwards. You'd still be able to see the butt sticking out of the water. So not only could you use this to shoot small game, but you could also use it as a canoe paddle or something of that nature. Now these are kind of interesting rifles, but they're really not very accurate. The barrel, every time you take it off, you're adjusting where the front sight is. There's a notch, so you align it the same way, but it's loose for tolerance. They also aren't the best rifle in that the magazine is completely stamped, so there's no actual really high quality parts to it. The feed ramp is just this little stamped piece, and they don't actually feed that well. The newer ones from Henry actually have wire clips to align the bullet. These have just some little pinches in the metal. I've never had very good service from getting it to feed. I also have in my original Survival Arms box a 15-round magazine, which is the same mechanism. Of the two, surprisingly, I tend to have less jams with this, but both are a crapshoot. It depends on how the magazine is held in the mag well. You know, do you put pressure on it? Do you not? It's not the best system, really, but it does kind of work. It's more of a novelty rifle unless you actually need it for lightweight and for survival purposes. Pretty interesting design. Armalite was making them originally. A lot of the Armalite ones you'll see have a fake wood color, like a tan color to the stock. At the time, plastic in a rifle was not very well received, much like the Nylon 66. After they stopped making them, they sold the rights, like they did for many of their guns, like the AR-15. They sold the rights to Charter Arms, and then Charter Arms sold the rights to Survival Arms, and then Survival Arms sold the rights to Henry. The Henry design is very similar to the original. The Henry design, however, doesn't have a solid barrel. It's kind of hard to, I don't know if you can see the barrel. This is a steel barrel and an aluminum shell. The Henry design is actually a steel barrel and a plastic shell. Not a huge deal. It's probably not going to be much less accurate. And also, Henry made some extra space in the stock to stow 2 magazines versus 1. So that's another little plus if you get a Henry. But really, like I said, they're kind of a novelty. They don't really feed well. The design was made to be a last-ditch survival type thing. So to try and say, well, it's a great target rifle or anything like that, you could maybe pick some squirrels or something with that. But you'd probably want to get pretty close. If you look, the rear peep is just held in with this screw. It's just a piece of sheet with a hole drilled in it. It's not very easy to adjust and actually tell where you adjusted it. Like I said, a pretty crude design, more for survival. If you want to buy one because you think it's neat, definitely go out and buy one. You know, I think they're $300 new from Henry, and if you find an old one, I've heard a number of stories of people that went out to a garage sale and just found the rifle in the stock broken down and walked up to whoever's running the garage sale and said, hey, how much for this? And they said, oh, the rifle stock you can have for $1 or $5, not realizing it was the entire rifle stowed in the stock. So, you know, definitely keep your eyes peeled if you know what you're looking for. And it's a little bit weird, too, because it's really made for a right-hander. If you look, the stock is offset. So to shoot it left-handed is really not a great position. But all in all, a neat gun, a neat design. You can really see some of the undertones of the other Armalite design. Like I said, the AR-15 and the AR-10, in that it's plastic, aluminum, you know, made for a specific weight and a specific purpose. But like I said, not the best 22 blinker, but definitely something to check out if it interests you. And for Gun&ShotTV, this is Chris saying, have a rootin' tootin' drunken shooting day. Thanks for watching.